Yeah. I'll call this meeting to order. Are there any declarations of interest? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I have a declaration of conflict with the TCAG fee for service agreement. I'm on the board of the TCAG.
Okay, did you get that, Anna? Okay. Adoption of agenda, moved by Councillor DeRose, seconded by Councillor Wilson, that council adopt the agenda for the meeting of February 16th, 2021 as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of the minutes, council meeting minutes of January 28th, 2021, moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Hanley, that the council meeting minutes of January 28th, 2021 be hereby adopted. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of council meeting minutes of February 2nd, 2021, moved by Councillor Longo, seconded by Councillor Decker, that council meeting minutes of February 2nd, 2021 be hereby adopted. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Excuse me, Terry, can you please just?
Oh, Councillor Kenny,
Yes.
did you vote yes for both of those?
If I'm opposed, I will say so. If not, just mark me as in favor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mayor's report. On Tuesday, February 9th, Councillor Neal and I attended the virtual One Thorold meeting. They continue to work on important community initiatives such as neighborhood hubs, communications, and affordable housing. The same day, the heads of council were provided a provincial update by General Rick Hillier, chair of the Ontario COVID-19 Vaccine Distribution Task Force. Also in attendance for the virtual meeting were Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Christine Elliott, Minister of Health, and Sylvia Jones, Solicitor General. General Hillier's update was distributed to council. The schedule laid out is dependent on expected supply chain deliveries. It looks like delivery backlogs are being rectified in the coming weeks, which is good news. Please visit the Niagara Region website. Go to Novel Coronavirus Update. Under Health and Safety, go to COVID-19 vaccination. That is where vaccine information is provided and updated by the region. And that is continually updated on the region website. We will also be providing local vaccine distribution information as it becomes available on our website and social media pages. Our EOC group is currently working in conjunction with all area municipalities and public health at the region on a local vaccine rollout plan and schedule. On Thursday, February 11th, the regional chair and area mayors met virtually to discuss lowering flags to half-mast across the region for 3 days, the weekend of March 12th to 15th. This will honor those who have died of COVID-19 over the past year, the 1-year anniversary since we took first measures citywide to fight the spread of the virus. Well over 300 people have passed away from COVID-19 in Niagara since last March. Our heartfelt condolences go out to all families and friends who have lost someone. It is especially difficult during the pandemic when normal hospital visits, funeral visitation, and service are not possible. More details regarding this will be made available in the near future. On February 11th, I also attended a virtual age-friendly committee meeting. They continue to work on many important initiatives and are doing amazing work even during these unprecedented times. And Councillor Neal was also in attendance at that meeting. On February 3rd and 9th, council and staff met and finalized the 2021 budget. I would like to thank everyone for their dedication and hard work that went into achieving a 1.8% rate increase, one of the lowest increases in all of Niagara. On Friday, February 12th, I was invited to attend a virtual roundtable discussion regarding skilled trades by MP Vance Badaway. This was a very productive meeting, generating many good ideas and suggestions that Vance will take back to his federal counterparts. As case numbers continue to come down due to the effects of the provincial stay-home order, please continue to follow the public health safety measures. Once again, thank you for your perseverance. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a long struggle, and the next few months will be tough, but we must stay the course. Once the much anticipated spring weather arrives and mass vaccine rollout begins, we will be in a better place. Please follow the public health safety measures. Continue to support one another, our frontline workers, those less fortunate or living alone, and more than ever, our local businesses who are the backbone of our community. I know the move from lockdown to gray was disappointing for many who were hoping for the move to red, but we must stay united and focused on beating the virus. It is okay to have a difference of opinion and healthy debate as long as it is done with respect and civility. Please be mindful of this, especially when posting on social media, and realize that there is a heightened level of stress in the community during these challenging and unprecedented times. City staff asked me to mention the parking restrictions during the winter months during snow events. During this time, residents are asked to refrain from parking on the street during snow events when snow clearing operations are underway. The city asks that you move your vehicle to an alternate location until the streets have been cleared. And an alternate location includes aprons. Aprons are allowed to be used during snow clearing events. Cars parked on streets make plowing difficult and sometimes impossible. With your help, winter maintenance crews can plow snow faster and more efficiently, providing safer road conditions for everyone. And at this time, I want to thank our city staff. The job they do in the community plowing snow is second to none in Niagara. And it's nice when you get a few phone calls like I have from people that don't live in Thorold, complimenting the work our crews are doing in the streets in Thorold compared to other municipalities. So kudos again to our staff for the great work they do. And that's the end of my mayor's report. Motions for council support. City of Thorold, moved by Councillor Hanley and seconded by Councillor Sentence, and I'll turn this over to Councillor Hanley. Councillor Hanley.
Ready to go. Thank you. That the correspondence received re-medical cannabis grow operations, public safety concerns, that the correspondence received from the Region Municipal of Niagara Police Service report pertaining to medical cannabis grow operations, public safety concerns attached as Appendix A be received and supported.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. At this time, I want to turn the chair over to Councillor Wilson. Can you take over the chair? Because I have to bring forward the second motion.
Certainly, I hope I do this right, Mr. Mayor.
Just,
Maybe you can walk me through it.
yep, you're just going to ask me to bring 11B forward.
Okay, Mayor, please bring 11B forward.
Okay, this is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Neal. Whereas Thorold City Council has adopted a policy pertaining to community flag raising and flag protocol with regard to flying of flags at City Hall. And whereas since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Niagara region has experienced in excess of 300 deaths associated with this disease, and whereas it is deemed appropriate to remember and acknowledge the first year anniversary of COVID-19. Therefore, be it resolved that the community flag raising and flag protocol policy be waived to permit the lowering of the flag at City Hall beginning on March 12th for a period of 3 days. And now you can call the vote.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you so much, Councillor Wilson. Motions to receive and file minutes or adopt recommendations of council, committees, and boards. Minutes to review for information purposes, moved by Counselor Wilson, seconded by Counselor Longo, that council receive and file the minutes of the committees of council local boards as presented. That's 12A Heritage Thorold LACAC and 12A2 Darlene Ryan Port Robinson Community Center Board of Management. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. There are no recommendations, right? No. Okay, and there's no statement by councilors. There's no delegations to report. We move to consent reports. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 consent reports. Does anybody want to pull a consent report for discussion? Seeing none, moved by Counselor DeRose, seconded by Counselor Sentence, that council approve the following consent reports: 15A, 15B, 15C, and 15D. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Discussion reports. PWCS 2021-08, moved by Counselor Hanley and seconded by Counselor Longo. And I'll turn this over to our Director of Public Works and Community Services, Jeff Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is the council approve the terms and conditions of a fee-for-service agreement with the Thorold Community Activities Group, provision of recreation and leisure programming services. Number 2, that funding for the city's share be allocated from the community grants program. And 3, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary agreement by bylaw this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions regarding this for Jeff? Go ahead, Counselor DeRose.
You, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Jeff. I think it's a very good idea. I just think, for personally, the timing due to COVID is not a good time. I believe. Now I'm looking through the report, and it does say that you guys are recommending that the program, the multi-year service agreement for annual programming events for the balance of the term of council, but then we start talking about a 5-year agreement. And so the timelines are just a little concerning for me. I wouldn't mind supporting it if it was just during this term of council. I wouldn't want to go beyond, because once again, we're saddling the next council, sitting council, with something they haven't decided on. My other concern is right now, I would not think there's much activity, if any, going on, or that is even allowed. And one of the headlines today in the National Post was, it's only the end of the beginning. COVID-19 will be with us for years. So I'm just wondering of the necessity to jump into this at this point. And those are my concerns. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor DeRose. Did you want to comment on that, Jeff?
No, I think they're good questions, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just some comments. It's been years that the Thorold Community Activities Group has been looking at partnering with the city, because what the city has been doing as far as recreation and what the group has been doing as far as recreation have been two separate and different things. This brings a lot of different programming under one banner. And more efficient. And I understand that Councilor DeRose's issues regarding it, but we are going to come out of this. My expectation is at least by the end of the summer, if not early fall anyways, and then we will go on from there. This is a positive step, and I'm glad that our present staff has taken it upon themselves to reach out with the Thorold Community Activities Group to bring them together with all the different types of programming that will happen over the next 5 years. And I'm all in agreement with it.
Thank you, Counselor Neal. Does anyone else want to speak to that? Counselor Decker and then Counselor Wilson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thanks, Jeff, for the report. I think it's a great initiative. We fund the TCAG anyway through our grants program. I think it's great that we're partnering with them under the recreational programs. I agree with Councillor Neal that it is a positive step. Also, they do still run camps. Unfortunately, the March break camp was canceled because March break has been postponed to April. So they go according with the COVID protocols. So I just think this is a great initiative. I have to support it because it's about time that we've teamed up with them, because going forward, hopefully we'll be able to offer more recreational programs with them in the city. So great job. Thank you.
Counselor Wilson.
I think everybody said so much. I forget what I was going to say initially, but it did lead me to think that, I know right now in gray zone it is closed, but just to maybe ease Councillor DeRosa's mind, when we're in the red zone, it is open and they have very strict guidelines about how many people or children they allow in the things. But my kids actually do make use of that. We just started last year, and I am was really excited to learn that we had stuff like this in our community. So that, and for adults as well. Unfortunately, I haven't made time to take advantage of some of these things, but I think it's necessary for us to have this in our community. It's an amazing thing to do, and it's affordable for people. So I'm happy to support that. I guess the only thing, and maybe I was reading it wrong, is a question to staff was, and they do charge a fee for service. So and I know they get grants from us, were they needing additional help maybe because of these times? Because I know they're not charging anything for people since it's closed. That's what my assumption was, but maybe that's wrong. I don't know, through you, Mr. Mayor, if Jeff could answer that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. So the question was, what is TCAG membership fees? What are their?
No, I guess sorry, I'll be more clear. I guess I was just curious as to why this is coming up now. Is it that they need help, or they're assuming they're going to provide additional services than they already are, or it's not affordable to continue what they're doing? I'm assuming we're giving them more money than we used to, correct, in this partnership?
The city's funding level over the past 25 years has averaged about over 25,000. In the last couple of years, it's been a lot less. And of course, last year, much reduced. The reason why we need to get a long-term agreement with TCAG is because they're providing recreation services to the community. We want to make sure that those are consistent, that it's going to happen year over year, and that the company that TCAG isn't waiting for a council to decide how much funding they can commit to recreation programming. It's important from a marketing and from a planning and staffing perspective that there's some consistency and some assurance that the programs are going to be offered year over year. And that's the advantage of a multi-year contract, as opposed to doing a year-by-year grant type of model.
Oh, perfect. That answered my question. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Director of Public Works and Community Services. I just have a question on the financial part. I understand it sounds like a good plan to me. They offer us a service, we give them a fee, which is great because we don't have to get into recreation. But this money's coming out of our community grants funding. Is that correct?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, the community grants is what we budget for annually. The funding will come out of that pot that was approved in the budget. I believe the number was $91,000.
Okay, and through you, Mr. Mayor, to the director, refresh my memory. Did we increase that in this year's budget? Up to 91, or is that the same amount as last year?
Jeff's checking that number, Councilor Longo. Right?
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that.
And our director.
It is the same amount as last year. And as Mr. Holman indicated earlier, the TCAG has always been funded through the community grants.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Director of Finance. Mr. Mayor, through you, I guess, to either one of our staff members. I guess my concern is if we're giving more money to the Thorold Community Activity Group, are we going to be shortchanging other organizations, other people that come to us for community grants? Or do we anticipate having enough in the budget? That's my only concern.
I don't know if Jeff or Maria want to answer that.
I haven't got the final list, Councillor. However, we expect that there will be some requests from various community groups. We'll have a Canada Day celebration, a Santa Claus parade, a number of different events that will have to be funded from this pot. And until we get a finalized list, I can't really answer that question, but I would expect if we're reducing the amount over last year, and we're expecting more events to happen, that there will be some that will be have to be reduced.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I guess I'll just make a final comment, Mr. Mayor. I guess maybe what we should have done then is increase the budget amount this year if we knew we were going to do this. That's my only concern, where we seem to be anticipating a budget shortfall here, and we probably should have last week or whenever we did our budget, budgeted for this. But again, I believe Thorold Community Activity Group is a good group, and I believe we need to rely on them now to provide recreation services. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria, did you want to comment, or you're good?
Through Mr. Mayor, I have the 2019. 2020 was sort of an odd year because, a lot of the grants were scaled back because the programs weren't running. But looking at 2019, we did have the same grant level. The TCAG was provided with roughly $24,000 of cash and in kind. And we still had $6,000 left over that we did not allocate.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 8, if I could ask through you, just where it says summary of services and fees, fixed amount 25,000, then it says 37K to 42K, and underneath 2,500. It almost makes it sound the more revenue they make, the more money we're going to pay them. Is that how that reads there? Because it more or less says underneath payment incentive based on increase in reported revenues above 37,000. So the more revenue they bring in, the more money we're going to pay them?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
You, appropriate staff member?
He said that's correct, Councillor Hanlon.
So usually if they're making more revenue, why would we give them more money? If they're making more revenue, they're covering more of their own costs themselves. It doesn't seem that, if they show a revenue increase of 35,000 or of 52,000, we're going to give them an extra $35,000. Do I read that correctly? So it's presently at 25 with 14,000 in kind for day camp programs. And if they come back and say we actually have a revenue surplus of 52,000, we're going to give them another 35. Is that how I read that?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct. The reason why we focus on a revenue model is because there's a certain amount of price elasticity with recreation services. So as you increase the number of participants, your costs go down. But what we're trying to do is make sure that there's an incentive to ask our contractor to expand the level of services across the community. So yes, it does reward more people, more participation. And what we didn't have a situation where they're playing around with the membership fees. So you have to charge a certain price. so that people participate. If the price is too low, or if you give away memberships for free, you're increasing participation, but you're not increasing your revenues. So there has to be an incentive for them to make themselves whole, so they don't have to come back and ask for more costs every year to top up their operating expenses. It's a different model than what we're used to, but we're trying not to focus on costs, because we don't want to tell them how to run their business, and we don't want to pay for a new roof, a new HVAC system, a new anything related to their facility. We're basically buying their service.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks very much. Just on that note, you know, when you say about across our community, see the problem, I have no problem with Thorold Communities Group. They do a great asset for our community. But my concern is we're subsidizing non-residents and we're subsidizing adults. That's just my two concerns there. I don't think it's right that we subsidize adult programs when we should be doing more for our youth. I think that adults should be paying their own ways. And I don't believe in subsidizing non-residents. I know the question has been raised several times. We've never been actually given a direct answer as to how many of the registrants or the members are actually Thorold residents. So that makes me concerned. I have no problem with the recreation or giving them the funds whatsoever. My two concerns is subsidizing non-residents and subsidizing adults. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Neal, you had your hand up?
Oh, that's fine.
You're good? Councillor Thorold?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. To Jeff or Maria, I'm looking at the same area Councillor Hanley was looking at. And it says, so is the revenue generated, is that their revenue, or is revenue come to us at that point? Is that their revenue and then we're paying them on top of their additional revenue? If someone could explain that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's based on the programming that has been provided in the past. We've determined that the average revenue for services provided to Thorold residents is $37,000 for their program. So that's excluding daycare, it's excluding adult volleyball, which is a revenue maker for them, and other camps. The amount of revenue that will be used as an incentive will be based on any revenues generated over the 37,000, and it's a step thing. So if you think of it, if you have a class and you have room for 20 people, you have 10 people in a yoga class, you can add another 10 people without having to hire another instructor or have another schedule. So as you build the membership and the attendance in these facilities, it's not a straight line increase in operating costs. So that's why it's more geared towards the revenue as opposed to their cost.
Okay.
And last question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Jeff or Maria, does this replace our yearly cash payment in-kind service amount that we've given the last, I don't know how many years, since 82? Does this replace that then?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
That's correct.
Okay, because as you scrolled, it also said it adds up to 40,000. So I don't know where that number comes from.
Mr. Mayor, $40,000 is a number that our consultant recommended, and that's based on a combination of cash payments and in-kind services that have been provided over the past number of years. So although that's their recommendation, we believe the number should be closer to 25 in terms of the cash portion, but there should be the incentive, and it's not money given away, but as they're able to generate more attendance and more popularity of the programs, then they should be paid additional cash, and that's why the model is set up this way.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Director of Community Services. Just have to ask one more question. On Schedule A, the chart that we're looking at, if I can get some clarification. For example, it's on page 8, Schedule A, 2021, it shows a fixed amount of 25,000, which I understand. Then it shows a stepped amount for 4 different categories. So for example, here, if they do 50,000 in revenue, they will get $40,000 from us. But if they do 52,000 in revenue, it will jump to 75,000. Is that correct?
No, if the revenue is that they generate is over 52,000, they will get a total of $35,000. So they'll get the base amount of 25,000 plus the $10,000 incentive for a total of 35 in year 1.
Okay, all right. That explains it. Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? Is that it? Counselor DeRose, go ahead.
Just wanted to say, I still think this is a great idea, but timing of it to backdate it to January 1st when nothing's going on for the past 2 months and nothing's going to continue. And if Counselor Neal believes July is when COVID's going to be, we can go forward. Let our health officials know, because there's no way. Some of the stuff I've been reading, this is going to be a lot longer. And so I don't see the urgency to start this backdating it to January 1st, in my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Call the question. All those in favor?
I'm in favor, Terry.
Opposed? That's carried. PDS 2021-02, moved by Counselor Wilson, seconded by Counselor DeRose, and who's here from Denise?
Yes.
Okay, you're up, Denise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations of the report are as follows. That council supports the request submitted by the Thorold Veterinary Clinic located at 18 Albert Street West to receive a refund of $18,574.32 under the former Development Charges Exemption Program in the former Development Charges Bylaw 74/2014. This concludes the report. Thank you.
Questions for our Manager of Planning, Denise? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carry. PDS 2021-03, moved by Counselor Longo, seconded by Counselor Sentence. And again, I'll turn this over to Denise Landry, our Manager of Planning.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This report is minor variance application fees, a follow-up from a council request to prepare a report outlining the fees across the municipalities for charging for minor variance applications. And this report, the recommendations are that council receive this report for information purposes. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Questions for Denise? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Our city clerk wants to go back to 16B, which passed, but she did not, I'll let her speak.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the vote wasn't clear for 16B, whether Councillor Hanley and Councillor DeRose, did you vote in favor or were you opposed? Just couldn't see your hand.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a question. If we use that service, if that's our vet, is that a conflict of interest? That's why I was nervous. I didn't know whether I should vote or not, and then it was too late to mention it, but I'm just concerned about a conflict of interest because that is the vet that I use.
If you're in doubt.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want, yeah.
You have to declare a conflict.
So I'll declare a conflict of interest on that vote. Thank you.
Okay.
I voted yes, Mr. Mayor.
Next time, Councillor DeRose, please try and do it at the beginning of the meeting when we ask for conflicts, okay?
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. That's fine. It's been duly noted. And
I voted yes, Mr. Mayor.
what?
I voted yes if the clerk is asking.
He voted yes.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you so much. Both of you. Thank you. Okay. Any notices of motion? No closed meetings. Bylaws, first reading of the bylaws, moved by Counselor Decker, seconded by Counselor Kenny. that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw 19-2021 and bylaw 20-2021, and that the same now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Final reading of the bylaws moved by Counselor Decker, seconded by Counselor Kenny, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adjournment. Moved by Counselor Sentence, seconded by Counselor Neal, that this meeting is hereby adjourned at 7:09 PM. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I think that's our shortest meeting so far this term. Hey, have a great week
Thank you.
and get ready. We're supposed to get more snow on Thursday, they say, so
Night, everyone.
Have a good night.
have a good night, everyone.
Good night.